Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Build Through Broadcast with the Emerald Green Collective. It is I, Coach Shantae, along with my co host, Coach Latoya. Today, Coach Shayola is celebrating her anniversary, so she is not joining us for the broadcast, but she did leave behind some really special guests. Today, we've got our second special guest, who is none other than Nana Doula and also my mom. I'm really excited to do this interview and conversation today as we discuss breastfeeding from the mental aspect. So, before we get started, let's tune into the intro. Welcome back, welcome back. So, without further ado, we are going to bring on our special guest, my mom, Nana Doula. Let's see if she is ready to go. All right, Nana Doula, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you.
Perfect. There we go. We can hear you as well. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and joining us as we discuss the subject of breastfeeding for National Breastfeeding Month. So we've got a few questions for you, but before we get started, did you want to do a brief intro or do you want to just dive right into the conversation?
I can certainly do a brief intro and just a hi. I'm really excited to come and sit down with you ladies and discuss uh, breastfeeding during this time. It's such a it turns out to be one of those things that's controversial, but you don't know why because it makes no
Yeah.
sense for it to be controversial. So, yeah, I'm very excited to be here just to discuss this topic with you ladies and share a little bit of what I know and my opinions.
Absolutely, we love it. And we've got, like I said, Coach Latoya and myself, and I know personally that you do have a vast depth of knowledge when it comes to breastfeeding and child rearing and all of that good stuff because there's three of us. There are three of us. So clearly you had to know a little bit of something about something because we're all still alive. But we do have a few questions for you. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our first question. So, Nana Doula, how long have you been a doula?
Oh, wow. So I have officially been a doula for almost 2 years. October will be 2 years since I completed the certification with Mama Glow online, which was an amazing experience. Unofficially, I think that's something I've always done among my cousins and things that are my age. I was the go to person for questions and to go to the hospital with them or their daughters when they had babies. So it's something that I've done unofficially for years.
And I can definitely vouch for that. Um, our next question for you now, this is going to dive right into our subject matter, and I'm pretty sure it's going to lead us to a couple of other things as well.
Hmm.
So, as you said, you wanted to share your opinion. So, in your opinion, how important is breastfeeding for new moms and babies?
Oh, wow. Listen, in my opinion, it's extremely important because it helps to foster that bonding that needs to take place. You've heard, I'm sure, about how important it is to have skin on skin contact. And that happens a lot when you're breastfeeding. It's hard to not have that skin on skin contact if you're breastfeeding. So there's that. But then outside of just my opinion, there's the hormonal aspect because when you breastfeed, the two hormones, out of the two hormones, there's the prolactin, which helps, bring about your milk coming down. It helps with breast tissue development and all those things throughout life. It does that. But oxytocin is that big boy because with that particular, I should say that big girl, with that particular hormone, um, it's called the love hormone. That is the hormone that is released when you have the big O. It's also the hormone that they give you when your labor is stalled and they need to speed it up. They give you oxytocin to cause your uterus to contract and that type of thing. And then it also causes milk to be released from milk ducts down to the nipple. But outside of that, that's the hormone that you get at that time. And that's the exact same hormone that is released when your baby is nursing. So how you get that feeling about that person that just did this thing for you, when you get that feeling and how you feel about that person, those emotions that come up is because of that hormone. And that hormone is released when you're breastfeeding. So when you are a new mom, when you are in that headspace of, I don't really know what I'm doing, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right, and you can take that child that is yours and nurse them from your own body, that in and of itself is really it's a transformative moment because of the fact that you you've been pregnant and you've gone through labor and you've looked at this little person and you've had that feeling that you get when you first see your baby. And then you take and layer on top of that the feeling that you get when you are looking at them with just that little bit of distance, that eye contact that happens because their vision is very short space. But when you're nursing them right there, that's right at the space where they need to be, where they can actually see your face clearly. And you know it. When you look at that face, you know it. You see that, and you're like, okay, we just had a moment right there. Nothing tops that. So even in your fear with everything that goes on, when that happens, that helps a mom to get that will and that desire to continue on, to continue to try, to not give up no matter how hard it is.
Absolutely. I love that. Hey, Coach Latoya, did you want to jump in with any questions or comments?
Yes, absolutely. I want to thank you also for joining us for this live, and we definitely appreciate your insight. And it sounds like you were divinely supposed to be a doula, just based upon what you shared of how you've experienced it within the people that surround you. So that's amazing. And you also brought up a great point in regards to just how important it is for the bonding and connection. And because during that time period of breastfeeding, that's the time your hormones is a little all over the place. So
Mm-hmm.
being close to your baby, it allows you that space to be. I know for me, I know when I did it, it allowed me to slow down and also have that connection, that eye to eye connection. And it made me, it calmed me down even throughout the even throughout all the changes that was happening. So
Yes.
that's a great reminder. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. And I definitely can veg you back on that with what you said, Coach Latoya, because I definitely remember, and you were also a C-section mom as well. I remember for me, having my son by C-section made me feel like I wasn't a mom. I just had this association between vaginal birth and motherhood that really had me feeling disconnected for a while from the process or excuse me, the new title of motherhood. And I remember just the nursing process with Makari was very easy for us. And it was the one thing that I could always go to and just be. Like, I knew in that moment as a mom, I was doing my job. I felt strongly that I was connected to him. He was connected to me. And it really did help connection. And it's also been great going down memory lane, because he'll actually be 12 at the end of this month. So this is my 12th year nursing anniversary, so to speak, at the end of this month. So I'm really excited to talk about this subject and kind of get a little bit deeper into it. So the next question. Oh, before we dive into the next question, because I do have intimate knowledge of some of your motherhood journey, one of the questions that I wanted to also put forth, in your experience of raising 3 children, what was your breastfeeding journey like with each one of us, and how were they different?
Oh, wow. Well, with my first, with Devon, he was a preemie. He came in at 2 pounds and 4 ounces, and I wasn't even able to hold him or any of that and he had to stay in the hospital. So with that experience, they gave me a pump at the hospital because I told them I wanted to breastfeed, but I did. I pumped and I froze milk and I carried it to Birmingham as often as I could because from Dothan to Birmingham was about a 4-hour drive. And being a teen mom, the freedom to just go back and forth like I wanted to was not something that I had. So I had to try to make it work the best way I could. When he did get released from the hospital, I did not have any success with latching him, but I was able to bottle feed with pumped breast milk for a while. So he had breast milk for about 2 or 3 months. And then we were all formula. So with my second child, which was you, I was determined. I said, I'm breastfeeding. I let it be known. And there was an issue. Issues with all 3 of my children led me to my doula work, to be honest. With you, there was an issue because the nurses felt like they knew better than I did, and they gave you a bottle. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, okay, why haven't you brought my baby back to my room? Surely by now she needs to eat. And they're like, well, we already fed her. And I'm like, what did you feed her? And they're telling me that they gave my child a bottle. I was livid. I go taking my little self down to the nursery. I'm raising all kind of Cain with the people. I said, bring my baby to my room. You're not to give her a bottle anymore. Like, I was determined, and I made sure I let it be known. And from that point on, we breastfed. Now with you, again, no problems latching, really good feeder. And so I really felt like I came into my momhood, if that's a word. I really felt like I came into my momhood at that point because I did things the way I always thought that I would. I had grown up seeing one particular aunt, she breastfed. She had my cousin Marcus, and I saw her breastfeeding him when I was like 7, 8. And she never took a bottle anywhere she went. And wherever we were, if he was hungry, the titty was coming out and he was going to get fed. Like there was no shame in her game whatsoever. So I grew up seeing that. And so that is what I had determined in my mind that I would do when I, became a mom. So it worked out really well. I had lots of relatives that had a lot to say. I'm not going anywhere with you. We're at the mall. We go to the restaurant. I think it was Piccadilly at the time.
Mhm.
And I was with Larry, who happens to be Aunt Janice's son at that. I'm not going anywhere else with you. I can't believe you did that in public. I'm like, dude. So that was my experience with you. Now, I only breastfed for 6 months. And that was because you bit me. And I was like, okay, I can't take it. This hurts. This is I can't do it. And also because I felt like I needed to get a job, and the cousin that I had watching you guys for me to go to work, she said, I don't know what's going on with this baby. She will not take this bottle. And I'm like, I pumped breast milk. She's got breast milk in the bottle, but you were not having that rubber nipple. Like it was not going to happen. So I worked, and I would work a 6-hour or 7-hour day. And during that time, you would not eat at all. So, I mean, stubborn was the thing. Like Shantae was not having the rubber nipple. So, at that time I was like, okay, I can continue to sit at home and not work, or I can try to get this job, which means I'm gonna have to wean her and get her to take this bottle. And so those are the things that led to that. Now, by the time I had the third one, I was older. I kind of had a different situation. And so I was able to breastfeed Brandon for the full year. And I feel like it was for me a gratifying experience because I set that goal for myself and I was able to stick to it.
Mhm.
And I was able to do it the way I had always envisioned doing it in my head. So it was an experience where I felt like, okay, I provided, everything that I could. I made sure that I ate properly. I made sure that I, took my vitamins and tried to stay calm and all of those things because I didn't want any of my emotional baggage passed on either during that time. So that was one of the things that I can say that helped me in the journey in the process of breastfeeding was that I always had in my mind, don't do this while you're upset. Don't feed your baby while you're in a bad mood, if you're in some kind of depression or whatever. And it really helped me to keep myself in a much clearer headspace because depression had been something that I struggled with before. But in that time, I was like, I don't want to pass this on. And I really had that strong belief that close proximity of holding that child, of whatever vibe I was feeling, could be passed on to my child. So that was another thing that I paid attention to when I was breastfeeding.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, before I say my next piece, Coach Latoya, was there anything on in that you wanted to veggie back on?
Yes, thank you for sharing that. That's amazing, that you were able, regardless of how long you were able to, with in the beginning, you made the attempt and you did it for all your children. And that's to me a big deal as someone that never saw anyone in my family do it, honestly. So
Oh,
I was like
wow.
the first to really do it. So I find it very impressive or whatnot. And the fact that you did it, I know you mentioned being a teen mother doing it. That's major, because a lot of
Mhm.
times I feel like we're not educated just in general. So to do it even at a very young age, that's
Mhm.
that's beautiful. And also the fact that your son was in NICU during that time period too. And I'm curious to know, like, were you able to breastfeed like pump the whole time and bring all the milk there, or was it times where they've had to? Did they do donations at that time, or was it a mixture?
You know what? I don't think they did donors at that time. And I was in school, and I had a choir director. I was in choir in high school, and he would help me get back and forth to Birmingham. So I would pump and I would freeze, and then I would pack up my little cooler, and Mr. Hagler would would buy me a bus ticket, and I'd hop the Greyhound and go to Birmingham.
Wow, that's amazing. I
Mhm.
love that. That's so commendable. And there was something else that you mentioned, but I think it went past me. Oh, the part about being mindful of how your energy is when you're feeding
Mhm.
your baby. That is
Mm.
very important. Like, that's something that I was mindful of too. You know,
It's so
E-
important.
yeah. Even like when I was, carrying the child, like that was extremely important. Yeah. So I really appreciate hearing your testimonies for all three, and how it led you to your doula work. Like, that makes sense. That tends to happen, I find, with many people who are into birth work. It's because of their own experiences
Yes.
that leads them to that. So awesome.
Absolutely. And we had a couple of comments here from Miss Jocelyn Burrell. She said donor milk just came into existence about 10 years ago, and she is a former NICU nurse. So we thank you for joining our broadcast today. It is greatly appreciated. Um, one of the things that came up for me while you were talking was, just because today we are talking about the mental effects of breastfeeding, being mindful of your moods, being mindful of your energy. But my question for you is, in what ways do you feel that breastfeeding affected your mind with all three of your breastfeeding experiences?
Okay. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to make sure that I say this. When it comes to mental health, seeking help is very important. Everybody who has mental health issues is not able to just decide, okay, no, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm not going to react this way. I'm not, everybody doesn't have that in them to be able to just say, no, I'm not going down that road. Um, Fortunately for me, I was able to just make a decision. No, I was just able to say no when the feelings came, and having the responsibility of a young life is what made me say no. I'm not doing this. I'm not going down this road. I'm not feeling these feelings. I refuse. And then my go-to things for getting out of those headspaces was to have my music playing, to sing around the house to the top of my lungs. And just that was my release, because it all would come out that way. Um, Even when you guys were really, really small, you know, I'm walking around with Devon following me around and you on my hip, and I'm singing, Patti LaBelle, or and all music, country music, gospel music, R&B, whatever the mood was that I wanted to be in, was is where I would be, because um, you have to get yourself right before you start to change your energy, to raise your own vibration. You have to do that, and you can do that once you realize it. And even at that time, growing up in the church, being raised, always to pray and trust God. And I think I took some things away from that may not have been intended, because when I heard the words, speak those things that are as if they were even though they're not, when I heard those things, I took that to mean, okay, I feel like I want to take this bottle full of pills over here. But what I'm going to say is, I'm here for a purpose. I'm going to beat whatever this is that's trying to beat me down. I'm the winner. I'm kicking its butt. And I'm raising, 3 children that are going to not even have to have this fight. And I'm not going to give them any of this. And so that's what I did. I raised my vibration with my music, with making those choices, and with some support that was amazing. My cousin Yolanda would come over to my house. She was not going to let me just sit there and be by myself. She was going to come over. She was going to visit. My cousin Roy, we used to call him Peanut, he was going to come over and he was going to check on me and make sure that I was good. He was going to make sure everybody in the neighborhood knew that I wasn't just some single girl with her kids over here. She had these male relatives, and you better not play. Like, I had that. Then I had my aunts who were always encouraging, uplifting, and trying to just tell me, look, you can do this. You don't have to sit here and be, they constantly encouraged and lifted me up. And those things are very important. And speaking to someone, saying, okay, this is where I am. This is how I'm feeling. And then being able to then say to that person, okay, but this is where I'm going. This is where I want to be. This is where I'm headed. This is me. And you define your own self. You define who you are. And then you go forward from there. Thank you. But yeah, you define who you are and you go from there, because you cannot be alone. You cannot do it alone at all. And you have to make it a point to reach out, to talk to people. And you may come across the wrong person every once in a while. You may have shared too much with the wrong person, but don't ever let that stop you from reaching out to people, because you have to have some other people that you can talk to and help you get over those times when you're trying to raise your vibration and you may not be able to do it yourself in that moment. But having people around you that can do that and help you with that is a key element.
Go ahead, Coach Latoya. I see you got your mic unmuted.
Yes. I was gonna say, like, what you said is key. Is pretty much what I heard. Is definitely having a village, having someone around you. You mentioned your family, having male family members around, so people know that you are not alone. So that's something I had to learn, to definitely don't feel like a burden or whatever to people. Ask for help, that's very key,
Mm-hmm.
and you can intuitively see who you can go to, because as you mentioned, sometimes you may say say too much to the wrong people, but it's still important to be vulnerable, even though it's difficult during that time period sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Definitely. And you pretty much answered the last question, but I'll pose it anyway. If there is anything additional that you would like to add. So the last question that we have for you is, what are some things moms can do to alleviate stress while breastfeeding?
Okay. Yes. One thing also that I would add is, during the actual time to breastfeed, leading up to it, do your breathing, listen to your music, set up your feeding space. Set up your feeding space where you're going to be nursing, have your water, have your music playing, or a book that you want to listen to or read. Have your space set up and turn that into just that special bonding time with your child. It's very important to do that because it does alleviate stress. in the moment. It alleviates stress in the moment. And then if you're one of those moms or one of those people that is very goal oriented, uh, or you're worried that maybe you're not producing enough milk, journal it, write down, I fed at this time, I changed the diaper at this time, because those are your signs that your baby is getting enough. The paying attention to how many diapers you changed that day, how many wet diapers, how many soiled diapers. When you start seeing that, you're like, okay, yeah, food is getting in because this other stuff is coming out. So I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and just continuing that on. And listen, when you do that with that child, it carries over. It carries over from infancy into toddler, into child, into adolescence. Because with Shantae, we had our nursing time, and that was our time. And that's what we did. Then as she got older, we still had our time. And with each one, everybody had their time where I just spent time just with that particular child. We colored a book. We colored, we read, we went outside and sat in the grass. Those times, developing those habits can carry over to the rest of that child's life, all because you said, okay, I'm not going to be worried during this time. I'm not going to be stressed right now. I'm going to pay attention to my child, and we're just going to focus on us, this relationship right here. And it carries over all the way through. And I mean, I can honestly say, see the difference with Shantae and Brandon. My oldest, he kind of does his own thing, and it's a different kind of relationship to get information out of him. The two younger children tell me stuff that sometimes I'd be like, Lord, I didn't want to know that. But but that relationship was built up from those times that we started out during breastfeeding, that continued on, and we still have conversations. I think Shantae was pregnant with Makari before she actually stopped coming and sit in the bathroom and talk to me while I'm taking a bath or getting in the bed with me. Like those things. Yeah. And then my youngest son, he stopped trying to follow me in the bathroom. I say around, the early teen years. But he would still come in my room and try to get in the bed with me. And if he thought I wouldn't let him get in the bed with me, I'd find him on the floor at the foot of my bed all through his teens, because they were used to that closeness and that time. So when you look at what you're doing and how it's going to affect the future relationship with that child, it does help relieve the worry and the stress of, am I doing this right? Am I really making a huge mistake that's going to have them scarred, for the rest of their lives? These are things that you can do to make sure that, hey, I'm doing everything I can, and they're going to remember this and know that, whatever screw ups I had, because we're going to have some, they were loved throughout all of this, and I did the best that I could.
I love that. I love it. And so we're a few minutes over, so we're going to bring it to a close today. But before we wrap it up, Coach Latoya, Nana Doula, was there anything else that you all wanted to share in closing thought?
Oh, I just wanted to comment. I said, "Oh well, it doesn't end because with the closeness or whatnot." So yeah, Because that's how my daughter is at 4. So I know it's
Enjoy it.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Awesome, y'all. Thank you so much, Nana Doula, for joining us today and sharing your experiences and insights along this breastfeeding journey. We commend every single mom who is breastfeeding, whether you're breastfeeding directly from the breast or bottle feeding, and even those moms who are making the decision to bottle feed. You can still, like we said, have that closeness with baby, doing that skin to skin while you're bottle feeding, and just allow yourself to fully invest in whatever way you find is best to nourish your little one. Thank you all again for tuning in. And of course, shameless plug, we will be having our fall detox this coming September. You can join us for the journey. Kickoff is August the 27th. And we will be journeying from September the 3rd through September the 24th. And it is going to be a fantastic experience. Now, if you're currently breastfeeding, we don't necessarily recommend doing a full detox, but you can come in with us and do it in a modified way so that you're not releasing toxins into your breast milk. But if you are using your detox to prepare for pregnancy and to prepare for labor and delivery, we can definitely help with that as well. And Ms. Jocelyn Burrell says, great insight and tips for those breastfeeding discussed today. Thank you all so much for your insights. So we're going to dive into our outro, and we will see you next week, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we are looking forward to sharing with you some more insights and tips on breastfeeding. Coach Latoya, anything from you before we head out?
Oh, that's pretty much it. You kind of wrapped it up. I'm not sure if we're going to share that we're having our anniversary
Yes.
very soon in September. So stay tuned for more information on that. I believe it's going to be, what date is it going to be? I forgot. September 10th?
Yes, September the 10th.
September 10th, we are going to be having some amazing guests. And you can definitely sign up for that. You could go to the Emerald Ring, I believe the emeraldgreencollective.com for that, right?
We'll add it there as well.
Okay, the emeraldgreencollective.com, or you can go to our, you can actually go to our Instagram at the Emerald Green Collective to see the actual flyer for it. So stay tuned for that. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. We are really excited. Thank y'all so much for making this first year amazing. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. And until next time, we say peace and be blessed.